Hey, ladies and gentlemen, rise and shine. It's time for Wrestle AM, half morning show, half wrestling show, pretty much all BS. Well, it's time for Stump the Idiot. And for those of you who are new to this show, Stump the Idiot is basically, well, it's brought by you. You ask us questions throughout the week. Dave cherry picks the best and sometimes the worst questions, or sometimes anything that anybody posts. And then we just sit back here and we answer your questions. You can ask us questions about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be wrestling related, but considering this is a wrestling, talk show here, a little analysis, that's usually where all the questions are, so that's what we're going to answer. So, Dave Kokoda, sir, who has the honors tonight?
All right, the honor roll goes to Alex from Skype. I've been adding people on Skype, so if you want to add me on Skype, go ahead. I don't know how many Dave Kokodas there are, but I'm cocosports.com. But Alex from Skype, all the way from Germany, asked, what was the last great year in WWE? And then he got the title question, what was your favorite era in pro wrestling? So we'll save the title question for second, but let's go. What was the last great year in WWE in your opinion?
The last great year in WWE, God, I would probably say somewhere between like '05 and '06. You hadn't had the Benoit tragedy. WWE was still kind of edgy. They were on pay-per-view. Almost. I think they were. No, they still had the brand split. They still had people like The Undertaker going live. You had Eddie Guerrero, making a championship run. CM Punk was starting to debut. I mean, it just seemed like the future was wide open. You had people like John Morrison. You had, what we hoped would have been the rebirth of ECW, but it turned out to be a big flop. But it did take some risks there and got some people some exposure. So I think that was good, and I think it just kind of started declining after the Benoit death, after Benoit's murder-suicide. This was just, it made everybody just kind of stop, take a step back, and relook at some things. So I think prior to that, I think that's when their last great year before they had their oh my god moment.
For me, last great year, man, this is really tough. I'm going to go before that, because even though that was a good time in pro wrestling, a little bit before the Benoit tragedy, and you had the ECW one-night stands and stuff, I'm going to go with probably the Invasion. A little bit prior to that. Maybe that was in the same year. Now that I think about it, it was probably a lot closer to that year than I thought. But the Invasion, Jericho as the undisputed champion. I always joke at TNA. I don't joke. No, that's serious. I think TNA peaked when Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle headbutt each other in the Impact Zone. Remember that back in the day? I think that's when TNA peaked. I think WWE peaked because, when ECW ran in to help the WWE guys and turned and joined WCW to make the alliance. I think that's when WWE peaked, and that's when was the last great year for me. Because everything else was like, oh, well, I can't wait for it to get better. But back then, we didn't think that. And a lot of it's funny, too, because me and Booms, we got to see the Attitude Era, we got to see the Invasion. The Invasion gets a real bad rap because of the way the McMahons handled it, the way the booking was. The Invasion gets a really bad rap, but it got way worse. If you go back now and watch The Invasion, it's not that bad compared to today's product or John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista product. So probably it peaked for me. The last great year was when the ECW guys joined the WCW guys, because it just went downhill from there. And yeah, to me that was the last great year. Now, what Boom Boom was talking about was good, but you still had a lot of crap then too. So thank you for the question. Now for the time.
That's any time.
And I like how I'm pretty sure my last great year and your great year might be months apart. And I'm like, boom, boom, let me go old school. 3 months earlier, I'm a dick. Anyway. So, and then pro wrestling in general, what was your favorite era? We already got a comment from Andy Paps from Facebook, and he says Attitude Era. And that seems to be the probably best answer. But Booms, I'll let you answer first, and then I have a tie, so that's why I'm gonna let you go first because I'm a bitch. I have a tie, maybe three-way tie.
Yeah, okay. Well, that has nothing to do with this pick, but when I when I when I got the question initially, I mean, I think everybody's going to say the Attitude Era, the Rock and Wrestle Era, all this. But me, this is going to sound extremely weird to people, but my favorite era in professional wrestling has been within the last 10 years.
All right.
And I know it's kind of shocker. I know right now they want to call it the WWE Universe era, whatever, and people are about, like, what? And, just dropping their drinks right now, like, what the hell? No, hear me out. Right now, this isn't necessarily considered the golden age of wrestling, but I think when we get about 10, 15, 20 years out from where we are now, this will be looked back as a fond time, because when you think about it, okay, if I'm going to watch pro wrestling, well, there's 3 hours I can watch on Monday night with Raw. Go tomorrow on Tuesday night, hour with main event. Wednesday, I think that's pretty much an off night. Thursday, you watch 2 hours of Impact. Friday, 2 hours of SmackDown. Saturday, you can go back and watch like an hour of Ring of Honor. Sunday, you either have chances are there is going to be a pay-per-view, and plus now thanks to the internet, you can go back. I mean, that's 5 days, 5 solid days of wrestling right there. 5 just days. There's only like 2 off days. That's Wednesday and either Saturday or Sunday, depending on what's going on. But that's not the point. Now, it's back when me and Dave were younger. For us to watch these small promotions who weren't WWE or WCW, you had to read about them in magazine. You had to do tape trading. Sometimes you had to roll a dice and go do buy the VHS tapes. Oh yeah, going old school, baby. But now we've got the internet, and we can watch Ring of Honor in New Japan. Co-promote a pay-per-view. We can watch the return of Chikara. We can get on and watch NXT. We can do all kinds of, and not to mention that, but also small independent promotions. So looking at it now, I mean, there's all this wrestling going on, 5, 6 days a week, so many hours per week, and then not including pay-per-views. And we've got all this at our fingertips now. We can just few clicks of a mouse, bam. No more searching through PW Illustrated. No more, trying to trade with people at shows or conventions. No more, gambling, okay, and paying $20, $25, $30 for a VHS tape. Right now, we've got everything that we want at our fingertips, and people are saying, well, this isn't good, this isn't good. Well, when it gets about 20 years from now, you know what, this may be gone. We may only have wrestling once, maybe twice a week. And we're going to look back and go, oh, wow, do you remember that? Remember back there in the teens, back in the teens, back when we had all that wrestling, at our fingertips, we just get on the internet. I mean, we had to, try to hijack Ustream, go fight live. Yeah, that was great. I guarantee that's what we're going to be doing. And that's why I like this era that we're living in. Because, yes, while one company is predominantly dominating the scene, there's other things out there that's still pretty good that we can watch. New Japan, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, and one thing that I just want to add on, it's way easier access to overseas and indie stuff. Way, when you were listing off the stuff, I'm like, man, you should see how much indies and overseas stuff there is. It's just crazy, and the network is going to change. I really believe it. Now, my favorite eras, there's 3, but for different reasons than normal. One, everyone remembers their childhood era. Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen. I was an NWA, WCW super fan. I just remember it was so great. Maybe I look back, it doesn't hold up in time, but it's what made me fall in love with pro wrestling. I still remember to this day, and I'm gonna have to do a review on one of these things. Maybe you could go on this. One of these shows, there is so many shows, so it's hard to do. If we do reviews, it's hard to do another type show. But maybe one day we should review Clash of Champions 1. Because in my head, that was the greatest show ever. It was free, and it probably doesn't live up through time, but I fell in love with pro wrestling. Another is the Attitude Era, but not for what you think. A lot of people, Attitude Era, they're like, oh, WWE, ha 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 ha, WWE was the best. No, pro wrestling was the best. That was the Monday Night Wars. I was not a WWF fan until they were like the last major company left. Like, I was WCW, then ECW, and then, fuck, this is all that's left on. And that's when I discovered indies. So, yeah, I love the Attitude Era, but not for the WWF stuff, but for the NWO, the Cruiserweights, the WCW stuff. WCW gets a bad rap because when they went out of business, man, did they fuck up so fast, so much. But prior to them going out of business, their rise, you know how the DVD says the rise and fall of WCW? The fall was tremendously horrible. Any WCW fan will tell you that. But the rise was amazing. It was just so special change. And I say this to this day. If ECW wasn't around when it was around, I probably wouldn't be doing this. I probably wouldn't be watching wrestling. I wouldn't care. I think ECW being at that time, being at that spot, kept me in wrestling. So I like the Attitude Era, but not just for WWF, because a lot of the younger people are like, oh, WWF, and I'm like, no, the Attitude Era was awesome for a lot more reasons than just WWF. And the third time was, and I saw this a little more greedy of me, but I hate it as a fan, but loved it as a businessman. John Cena, Batista, Orton, they just ruined pro wrestling, and that's when I was an indie promoter. That's when I made money. That's when it was easy. We were doing the network way before WWE, and I made money living my dream just running indie wrestling. And nowadays, it's harder. It's harder. Like, I remember we would sell our content to overseas television deals. Those days are gone. We would have a 24/7 channel that was have millions of people watching. You would have 400 to 500 people packed in a bar on Tuesday night going, I don't give a fuck about wrestling, this is wrestling. So even though the John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton era was absolutely horrible as a fan, it was great as a business person, and it was great for breaking into wrestling. You know, WWE had monopoly, and people were tired of it, and I'm sure I'm not the only indie promoter that benefited from that time. At least I hope not. I hope there was others. But, yeah, so I think, you know, a different era, I'm gonna maybe add it, as a fan, maybe Attitude Era. But as a business person, I definitely love the fact that John Cena fucked up pro wrestling. John Cena fucking up pro wrestling made me so much money. And I hate him as a fan. But as a businessman, fuck yeah. Like, if I was TNA, I'd be like, John Cena's the best! Look at him! Da, 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 da. But, of course, they fucked that shit up, too. So, yeah. But, yeah, and as far as one thing, I do agree with you as far as technology and all that, but I think it's going to get better. I think technology is going to get better as long as the TPP, and this is getting way over people's heads in pro wrestling, as long as the TPP and the FCC don't fuck up the internet, pro wrestling will always keep improving. Now, if they fuck up the internet, then yeah, it's back to PWI magazines. So, all right, bam, you ready for the next one?
Ready for the next one.
Bam, bam, that was the title question. Thank you, Alex from Germany from Skype. Next is Ewok from Endor. You thought Germany was far away from a viewer. He's from Endor. Is it true that WWE has lost $750 million in the last 2 months? This is huge. I bet Triple H takes the fall. Bet.
Actually, yeah. I think the Motley Fool actually just published an article on that recently. Stock has been dropping. You know, of course, we're well aware about the time Vince a few weeks ago, actually probably a few days ago, that Vince McMahon lost $350 million in one day. The Motley Fool had written an article about it, and they, you know, they're not looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, this is a pro wrestling, no, as a pro wrestling company. They're looking from the standpoint of this is a business, and it's like they're, even the Motley Fool, who we cannot say, you know, we can't say that they're marks, we can't say that they're biased. No, they said, you know, something to the effect of, WWE really isn't creating future stars. I mean, and they cite all the guys that they hyped up. They hyped up Fandango, Tenzai, Zack Ryder, Damian Sandow, and all those guys fans are not excited to see. But you take people like John Cena and Randy Orton, who were big 10 years ago, they're still the headliners now. So the point they're trying to make is 10 years later, the two of your main stars are still your big headliners, but yet in that time period, with all the people you've tried to hype bringing in here, none of them, you haven't built them up and created new stars. Now, is that their fault or is that WWE's fault? That's a different discussion for a different day. But I think Motley Fool just nailed the nail right on the head. WWE has failed to capitalize. They failed to create future stars. They're on borrowed time right now if they don't create anybody new. I know they're working on Roman Reigns right now, but how fast are they going to have him ready? And right now, it's a painful lesson Vince McMahon's had to learn. It's people can call it an idiot tax, they can call it whatever, but Vince McMahon is no longer a billionaire, thanks to some poor decisions.
All right, welcome to Stock AM. I just want it to be known, I'm going to give myself a Barry Horowitz, who from day one told you buying WWE stock was a bad idea. We had monocle jokes. We had jokes that, oh, you just hate WWE. We had jokes of, oh, Dave, you fucking cake eater, you only buy the best stocks. I had tons of shit. Booms. For the record, I'm just going to sit here and give Barry Horowitz, who said buying WWE stock is a bad idea.
Yeah, you said that, but you also said it on the day when WWE hit like their highest level ever.
Yes, but the stock. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, let me find a blank piece of paper here. All right, when your stock starts here, right here, you can't see that. When it starts right here and goes, and it's just barely over the line. All right, just barely. And you're like, look at that. It's the highest ever. That right there, I don't know if you can see it, that right there is a bad stock investment. Then Vince himself said with the network, they're going to have a loss. Yet, when I said, you know what, that's a bad stock option, everyone's like, Dave, you're a fucking hater. Dave, you're a fucking idiot. Hey, my stock portfolio is looking pretty goddamn good. With that said, Vince did say there was going to be a loss. He did pre-warn people. I still think that the network is a great idea, and I think in the long run, Vince will still have the last laugh. But I think he's more concerned about his PR hit. I don't think he's worried about that money. Now, as far as how much money they lost, it's stock. You can look that up on Forbes and all that. But I still think he's pretty well off, and he'll bounce back easily with this. But I still find it funny that stuff we said, stuff me and Boo Booms have been saying for years, even before we were on YouTube. We used to be on internet radio. Before internet radio, we were on real radio. Before real radio, we used to hang out in a playground yelling at each other. But things that me and Boo Boom have been saying for years, stock investors are saying. They want creative and the top brass to be fired. And I just find it funny. But you got to remember, even though all these stockholders and all these people want him fired, Vince still owns the most stock. And I still think Vince will make a comeback story. And I don't think there is much trouble. Like, remember when their stock was at its highest peak ever? Look at that. It's so high. Highest peak ever. Sorry, man. But when it was at its highest peak ever, I'm like, oh, it's really not that good. And everyone mocked me. I'm going to be honest. Besides a PR hit, this really isn't that bad of a stock hit. There's been way, way, way worse. He'll bounce back from this. He is in trouble, though. You can't lie to your stockholders, and you can't rig up events, and there is an investigation, which they're keeping under wraps. Some people are like, it's not that big a deal. Some people are like, this is the worst thing ever. But from what I've read, and granted, stocks are just as bad as wrestling when it comes to internet rumors. Sometimes it's right on, and sometimes you're just like, where are you getting this information? But the worst trouble, stuff I've read, the worst trouble that could happen is that they'll lose their publicly traded company. Vince will have to pay their stockholders, and then Vince will own all the stock, and then he can't be publicly traded anymore. And I think that would be a good thing. Plus, someone said in the comments, I don't know who it was, and I apologize, but I kind of feel this way with TNA, a little bit with Ring of Honor and WWE. As a fan, now this might be a little misery over the top fandom here. I kind of hope that TNA does do worse and WWE does worse, because eventually, when their backs are against the wall, they're going to have to give the fans what they want. And maybe that's a good thing. So yeah, I didn't mean to talk stock so much, but it's so weird because, everyone's like, it's the greatest day ever. WWE is a genius investment. It's the worst day ever. Dude, it happens in the stock market. The more you play the stock market, the more you realize this stuff. And, sometimes you just have to know it's a bad investment. WWE is a bad investment. If you want WWE to be a good investment, wait till it's super low right before WrestleMania. And it always does a little kick for WrestleMania, and then after WrestleMania, sell it because it dips down. And you might be able to buy WrestleMania for free with that stock option. Don't put your money into WWE to retire. Please do not do that. So welcome to Stock AM. Booms, how's your portfolio looking today?
Yes, now that we've sufficiently bored the audience, what's the next question?
All right, put on your business cap. Hook and Shoot. Hook and Shoot says, put on your business cap. What? And this was a great question. I brought it up. It was the last question of our ROH Stump the Idiot that no one saw. I know Stump the Idiot doesn't get the views that our other shows do, but our Ring of Honor Stump the Idiot might have been our worst rated show ever view-wise. All right, so put on your business cap for this one. What exactly would it take for the WWE to go out of business and close their doors forever? Booms, you go first, my friend.
Well, I mean, what any business does. I mean, you don't get butts in the seats. I mean, that's the number one thing. You can have. I mean, you could do almost anything, but if nobody pays to see it, or not as many pay to, as long as people aren't buying tickets to get into shows, they aren't buying pay-per-views at home, they aren't subscribing to the WWE Network, they aren't buying merchandise, revenue's going to drop. That would force WWE to go to smaller venues, not pulling as much money. They couldn't pay their talent as much. There may have some talent that would probably walk. Where would they go right now? I mean, this is all theoretical here. You could say maybe Japan, but there's no way that Indies and I think even like Mexico or Canada would pay them, that kind of money. But anyway, they wouldn't be able to afford to have as much talent. So that would limit the amount of matchups, and I mean that's all it would take is just people not paying for the product. That's what it was gonna. That's all it takes. I mean, and when it comes down to it, we run the WWE because we're the ones who keep feeding it money, that keep it alive. And if we stop doing that, it goes bye-bye.
Yeah, I think the television deal is huge if the network bombs. But I think they need a legit competitor because they can always downsize and make it good again. I think they need a legit competitor. And what I said on the last show was if someone who's passionate, smart, and rich ran a legit competitive company like Turner did, my pick would be Mark Cuban. Hear me out. WWE is hurting right now. And if Mark Cuban bought Ring of Honor or started his own wrestling company, and had the same passion he had running that wrestling company, the way he runs most of his companies, especially the Dallas Mavericks, that would hurt Vince. Because I think he would just come in and sweep the deal. As long as there's Dixie Carters trying to go after him, he'll always have a job. You put a legit guy who's successful like Mark Cuban there, I think that's it. I think they'll hurt and get smaller and smaller. And another factor is, too, is if Vince is successful at something else. Like, I think the WWE might have shut its doors on its hard days if the XFL took off, if the Bodybuilding Federation took off. I think WWE is around because Vince failed at other things in life. I think if Vince is successful at something else, and you lose your television deal, and you have a rich competitor, and this has to be a perfect storm. Vince has to be successful at something else. You have to lose your television deal, and you need a Mark Cuban type character. So it could happen. I mean, MySpace has gone down, WCW has gone down. It could happen, but it has to be a perfect storm. All right. Let's see. We do have a comment here from Facebook. Dave, the saddest day. This is from Jason Rex. Dave, the saddest day was in WWE was the day Vince McMahon bought WCW. And yeah, that was a really sad day. But you know what? I saw potential, and I was wrong about that. How could it make it any worse to go out of business and do whatever WCW did? Yeah, but the thing is, Vince protects WWE. Ted Turner didn't protect didn't protect WCW. He was like, I'm fucking rich, bitches, I'm out. Where I think, see, that's the thing. When you're successful at something else, it's easy to close that chapter. Ted Turner has had a lot of successes in his life. So he's like, hey, bitches, I'm rich. Fuck you, that's AOL money, baby. AOL money, I'm out. Peace. So I think the reason why WCW went under is because, well, he was successful at something else, and it wasn't worth the battle. You know, so I think Vince needs that Ted Turner type money. He needs to be successful at something else. All right, you want to go through some live comments real quick and then get back on track?
Yeah, real quick.
Fran Yelly says, my favorite era was the Ruthless Aggression era with Kurt Angle and Lesnar. That was a pretty decent era. My favorite era is Mike Ashman says, my favorite era, the Attitude Era, Invasion Era, 96 Millennium. I was a kid going in my preteens. I feel sorry for the kids nowadays. Yeah, but nowadays, kids are a bit weaker. No offense, kids. Also, early ROH and TNA was epic when I was a teenager. Yeah, definitely. And fuck you, Google. Read the rest of Mike Ashman's comments on YouTube. Fucking. Grevin64, my favorite era of wrestling was the late 70s through the late 80s. Damn, that's old school, Grevin. The past few weeks of wrestling had made me about tap out after 35-plus years of watching. Yeah, sometimes it can get really hard. This is Grevin64 speaking. I've almost given up. I have endured all the highs and lows, but it seems that it's nothing. And one last new message. Please keep them coming. Franielli says, do you think that Vince's ego would be so big that even having his back against the wall, he would refuse to give fans what they want? No. When Vince has his back against the wall is when he does his best work. Yeah, he's a fighter. You have to slap him in the face. The problem is, I'm going to break this down. He's a fighter. He's a warrior. If you go see a lot of Marines, after they get out, very few stay in shape. Like, I go back and look at my infantry friends. I'm like, oh, my God, you're fat. Oh, my God, you're fat. Because the drive's not there. There's no one trying to kill you. You're like, I'm on a treadmill. Why? You know, so that happens to a lot of fighters. And I think Vince needs to be smacked in the face. Like, example, no one helped me get into shape. A YouTube troll flying to Tokyo saying, what? You're a waste of fucking life. Like, well, put up your nukes. And that youngin' whoops my ass. Because the next day, I'm going to the gym. That's how a fighter mentality is. And I think if you have nothing, you know, I am the tiger, you get fucking bored of that shit. You do. So I think Vince is fucking bored. That's what the bodybuilding, that's what the XFL is. That's what the fucking reality TV is. You slap that old man in the face, he comes out fighting. And that's what someone has to do. I'm looking at you, Mark Cuban. I'm looking at you, Mark Cuban. Slap that bitch right in his face. All right. Ready? Let's get back on track. Well, player dies. This is more of a statement, but well, let's read it. Let's read the statement. We'll go to a question. Who doesn't really like statements? Booms, you're so tired. I love you for doing this. Hook and shoot. Is it weird that I find Alicia Fox's new bully gimmick really, really hot? Booms! You're into some naughty stuff. Do you like when your women act completely out of control and the fool?
Only in the bedroom. I've had a fucking ex that was just fucking out of control, and she was a fucking bitch and fucking clocked me one good time, and I was like, yeah, no, thank you. There are limits, but Alicia Fox, oh my God, just the shit she's been doing over the past couple of weeks is just, well, there's no other way to put it. It's fucking hot. You got a hot, sexy woman. She, I loved it when she put on JBL's cowboy hat. She started prancing around, and then she started pouring liquid over her chest. Oh, my dear God. Yes. Love it. Nothing wrong with it.
I'm the opposite. I found her a lot more attractive a couple weeks ago. I just don't deal with crazy. Like,
Only because you were wrong about her being British.
that is true. That is true. What kind of person do you talk to saying, wow, it must be great to live in America, and you don't say anything? I should have known from day one she was crazy. But no, I just don't deal with crazy. I don't, like, at fucking all. No. I'd rather have the fat, nerdy chick that's fun to laugh with than the hot, fucking crazy chick. Like, even one, who is it, Von Erich's? Yeah, Von Erich's daughter. Sorry, I'm fucking...
Yeah, Lacey Von Erich.
Yeah. Dude, I just remember standing next to her and be like, dude, this woman is crazy. She's the most beautiful... And I said this, like, in front of her, so it's not like I'm talking behind her back. Because she looked at me like, this fucking fat, ugly nerd said what? I'm like, I'm looking around and everyone is kissing her ass and she's fucking crazy. And I just remember looking around and saying it in front of wrestlers and her going, she is crazy hot, but she is so crazy, I'm just going to leave right now. And of course, you know, the good-looking guy's like, he doesn't know what it's talking about. Yeah, okay. Give myself a Barry Horowitz on that one. Give myself a Barry Horowitz on that one.
Dave, I know.
I am not a big fan of crazy women. I don't want drama. I don't like, some people find that shit attractive. Like, yeah, my girlfriend's pouring soda on her. Like, no, dude, your fucking girlfriend's pouring soda on her. What the fuck, you know? Not to steal a line from Mayweather, but control, you know. No, that's gonna give me some hate now. But anyway, I don't know. I don't put up with crazy. I just don't. I'm crazy enough for the whole world. I don't need to add any more crazy to this stew. I want a woman who knows
crazy for the world.
I want a woman with a short skirt and a long jacket who knows better than I. That's what I want. A lady who reads The Great Gatsby at least once every 2 years. That's what I want. I want a girl. Okay. Let's go to 2 comments. Let's go to questions. We like questions. I'm going to save the comments for last. All right. Mike Ashman asks, do you feel now is the time for a King of the Ring to save the World Championship pitcher? I can't talk tonight. They fulfilled the prophecy that predicted Bryan being the mid-card champion. How do you go forward booking this injury angle being a work into the storyline? All right. So, King of the Ring. How do you book this craziness that is the Daniel Bryan situation? And do you love the King of the Ring as much as I do?
Well, I like King of the Ring as much as you do, but as far as, like, is he talking like 8 people, including Daniel Bryan, to make him King of the Ring and therefore the champion? Or are you talking about declaring like a tournament to crown a new champion?
To crown a new champion. I would like to see the WrestleMania thing in Atlantic City. Remember when they had the tournament for the championship? That'd be cool. That'd be a nice pay-per-view.
Oh, God, yeah. Talk about putting me on the spot here. I don't know who you put in it right now. WWE has done such a horrible job of building up stars. All their best superstars are bad guys. I mean, come on, Cesaro, Wade Barrett. So you put them in there. Okay, that's 2 spots. Let's just say it's an 8-man tournament for simplicity here. To make sense storyline-wise, you would probably have to put Cena and Orton in there. So that's 4. So I need 4 more, including some good guys. As far as other people, let's see. You can't use Daniel Bryan. I could probably stick in Reigns or one member of the Shield to make it interesting, and I would say Bray Wyatt, but that's good. You're going to get overrun with heels there. I mean, as far as good guys go, I mean, who else could you put in that's good that would be over? I mean, you couldn't put in Big E. I don't think he would get the pop that they were wanting. That's a tough one here. I guess since I'm on the spot here, you could use that as an excuse to bring back Christian.
Yeah.
Certainly, he's healed from his concussion now.
So, and he was at their. I'm just thinking maybe Cesaro, Paul Heyman guy, but I don't know. They really booked themselves in a corner, and what scares me about them to be booking themselves in a corner, dun 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 dun, is always their answer. You know, like, oh fuck, we fucked up everything. Well, it's time. Dun 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 dun. So I think I don't know what's going to happen, but I think if I was a betting man, it'll probably be John Cena. All right, Booms. Let's pump these questions out, do some live comments, and then wrap this bad boy up. All right, you ready? Mike, I think we did this. No, we didn't. Mike Ashman is back. He's back from outer space. With Brian having neck injury, and we're all looking up to the wrestling gods, that they avoid all costs to put the championship on Cena. Oh, talk about timing. Do you think now it's the time for Bray to focus on his first major title contendership, or is it too soon? So Bray Wyatt, is he too soon, or is he the answer?
No, I think it's too soon. I mean, I love what he's doing right now. And somebody had mentioned this a few shows ago that the Wyatt family, they honestly don't need titles right now to be over. In fact, I think them winning any kind of championship would actually complicate the matters a little bit more, because suddenly what's going to motivate these guys who see like this bigger picture to go after something that they could perceive to be as petty, like a championship title, and then they would have to defend it, and I just think it would kind of mess with their character. So, I mean, could Bray Wyatt find like an excuse, like I'm going to take something that's very precious to John Cena, I'm just going to win the title and use it to taunt him with, that something like that would make sense. But as far as just Bray, going all, ending the Cena feud, then going, okay, I'm going to try to be the new WWE champion, I just don't think it works for him.
I'm gonna say too soon, and Boom Boom, you answered it pretty damn well. So give yourself a high five. All right, Andy Moore says, if by chance TNA goes under within the next year, who do you think would try to go to WWE? Well, I think they would all try, but who do you think would be successful? Would be more of a question. Bully Ray? I don't think so, because everyone in WWE hates Bully Ray. Devon has a better chance. Maybe James Storms or Austin Aries. How do you think it would impact WWE with a surge of new talent? I think we answered this live on air, but I'll answer it one more time.
We answered this like months ago, but I mean, it can always change from time to time, depending on who's there. Bully Ray, I don't know. Maybe if they could get Devon and bring back the Dudley Boys, I could picture that. James Storm, I think he's getting a little old for him for WWE standards. Maybe they would give him a shot. Ken Anderson, no way in hell, because Orton's still there. Austin Aries, maybe, but I've heard, and this is just from what I've heard, that he's got a reputation as someone who's difficult to work with, so that may not happen. Bobby Roode, I could picture that happening. In fact, that's almost happened at least once, so I could picture that. Ethan Carter III, maybe they would give him a second look. Eric Young, I think they might take two. Eric Young, they may take a look at him, considering he's got that show on Animal Planet, and they're always looking for exposure outside of into the mainstream. So maybe that would give him some consideration. And I'm just trying to go through. I'm just trying to mentally go through the list real quick. That's all. It's really jumping. Gail Kim, yes, because she's married to Chef Robert Irvine. He's big on the Food Network, so yeah, I could see them welcoming her back with open arms. And plus, with this new revamped Divas division they're going for, she would be a perfect addition to that. Some of the other girls, maybe Velvet Sky, Angelina Love. I could see them. Maybe them making them an offer. But that's who else is Kenny King. I think Kenny King would be a perfect addition.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't touch King Mo or Rampage Jackson, considering they would be limited at best. Now, they may pick them up for like a nostalgia bomb to have them in a kind of match with Brock Lesnar, but that's the only reason I could see them doing something like that.
Yeah, I think if I honestly, if they're not interested in AJ Styles, they're probably not interested in anyone. But if I had to make a bet, mostly because of their side projects, Gail Kim, Kenny King, and Eric Young. I think everyone else is forgotten about.
Technically speaking, Kenny King did appear on WWE TV.
Yeah, he's from Tough Enough.
No, he also appeared recently on Legends House.
Yes, he did. I was so happy for him. I love Kenny King. I love I might, you know what? I might have to pass my man crush on to Kenny King. You know, CM Punk, he's staying home. He's having a good career. I'm going to have to pass my man crush to Kenny King. There, it's official. Write it down in the books. Man crush, Kenny King. All right. Jason Rex from Facebook asks, I got an idea, Dave. And I edited it for your feelings. TNA and WWE have a draft. Who would you take from WWE to the WWE from TNA and reversed? All right, if we're living in imagination lands, I think Dolph Ziggler and Kenny King. I think those are guys I would swap. I think Kenny King would be a big star. I think, maybe even, who's that guy? Who's the guy you love but is being treated like shit? Sandow. Sandow might. I just think if I was TNA, I would only get WWE guys that have talent but ain't being used right. And that's the problem with Dixie. She's like, what? Jeff Hardy? John Cena? Come on by. Yeah, but I wouldn't go that way. I would find someone like, EC3. What they did with EC3 is how I would run TNA. I would find someone that wasn't used correctly and use them properly. So my number one draft pick as TNA would be Dolph Ziggler. And yeah, maybe Kurt Angle, Young, Kenny King. Yeah, okay, it's kind of the same question almost. But as far as TNA side of the house, let's go to talk TNA side of the house. Dolph Ziggler would be my number one pick. Just because, and then Sandow. I would get guys that are good wrestlers, but ain't being used right. That's what TNA used to be.
I would throw Zack Ryder into that mix. I would probably throw Tyson Kidd into that.
Oh, Tyson Kidd's nice. So, all right, 2 comments and 1 last question, and then we're going to live comments, and we're going to wrap this up. So try to get your live comments in. All right, let's go to comments. You can add in. But Player Die says, and I find this to be interesting, so if you want, you can add your views. I've learned something recently. Wrestling fans like the corniest stuff ever. How can everybody like Adam Rose? And I don't know if we're everybody. I know Rob, our newest co-host, likes Adam Rose, but I'm not sure. Are you a Rosebud? You a lemon, or you just don't give a shit?
I don't hate him. I don't. I just think it needs more time. And I think it needs to be adjusted. I think it's a great idea. I saw it in NXT, and it worked great there. They just need to tweak it to be on the bigger stage of what it's on right now. That's how I feel about Adam Rose. I want to see this guy wrestle a little bit more, and I think his gimmick needs to be tweaked just a little bit. Otherwise, he's going to go the way of Fandango quick.
In any world outside of wrestling, Adam Rose is the biggest D-bag in the room and comes off fake. He definitely does come off fake, especially on the big stage and all how produced it is. I don't know if he's the biggest D-bag in the world. I've seen bigger D-bags, but yeah, he's a pretty fucking big D-bag. Biggest? I don't know. There's a lot of D-bags in the world for that. Did you just point at me, you little cocksucker, or was that a stretch? I was like, dude, I just look over, I look at your little screen. I look at your screen like there's bigger D-bags in the world, and Boom's like, oh, that guy right there. He's the stupidest, dumb, generic jokes of all time. I can't stand Adam Rose. I feel that way, but at the same time, I find it interesting coming from Player Dies because he's a lot younger. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't fucking get it. I guess I'm old. But, I know Player Dies is a lot younger than me, and he thinks he's a D-bag. So, if WWE's demographic is adults, why is he getting cheered? The dude is the cheesiest shit ever. Straight Swiss cheese. I love that line. He was so bad. He was so badass as Leo Kruger. I love Leo Kruger. He reminded me of the Spider-Man villain. And NXT, and now he's stupid as fuck. Sincerely, your hero Prince dies. So yeah, I think our Prince, our hero, brings up some great points. I'm glad that someone younger answered that because I felt like, what? No one's on MySpace anymore? I felt like that old man. And Stairway to Zeppelin. Your contract signing question. He's the only one that answered. I thought they would have a lot more fun here, but he hit a home run with this. Stairway to Zeppelin, one of the original YouTube commenters, one of the original members of the internet industry. His answer, Light from Death Note versus John Cena. That Light, he would say Light would give him the Death Note, John Cena would sign it, and then Light would just sit there for 40-plus minutes. And anyone that goes Death Note means that's because John Cena killed himself.
John Cena would still kick at it, too.
So he wins the contest. Granted, he's the only one that entered. But you know what? When you hit a home run like that, you can be the only guy to enter. And now we're getting a little off topic, so I'll try to keep this short as possible. Marky Mark, a newer member of the Internet Infantry. Hey, Dave, where can message you about a question? I have permanent teaching English. He wants to become a teacher in Japan. I'm close to finishing up my bachelor's degree. That's very important. Get a 4-year degree because in Japan, that's all they care about. You can get a 4-year degree in anything. You're like, I got a 4-year degree in dildo building. They're like, welcome aboard. You're an English teacher. Just make sure you have a 4-year degree. Doesn't matter what that 4-year degree is.
Trust me, you're about to find out that 4-year degree ain't really worth a lot.
In Japan, it still opens doors. In Japan, a 4-year degree is a lot more valuable than in America. But yeah, you need that 4-year degree. But yeah, in America, you might as well just Anyway, so yeah, teaching in Japan. Yeah, I would hit up. Now listen, this is going to be unpopular, but I'm going to say it. If you're going to come to be a teacher in Japan because you want to live in Japan, be a fucking teacher. There are too many fucking foreigners that come here, get a free pass, and then just fucking complain about being a teacher. Teacher of the year, love teaching. I didn't come to Japan I didn't become a teacher to live in Japan. I already lived in Japan. I just love being a teacher. So I would go to Interact. They're going to underpay you. But you're going to come here, and they'll hook you up with everything, and then in about a year, you can start looking for another job. Being an English teacher, you can make a lot of money. But if you're not here, you have to deal with Interact. And Interact, every teacher in the world will complain about it because of the pay, and you're not that important. But I think it's the best job in the world. So I would hit up Interact, get your 4-year degree, hit up Interact, move over here, and be prepared. Japan isn't as cool as people on YouTube make it, but it's not as bad as columnists make it. So if you want, since you're flying over, you might be in the middle of nowhere, where you're the only white guy, and if you're younger, you want to live in Tokyo, or Osaka. But it depends. But yeah, so just make sure if you're gonna be a teacher, really be a teacher. Because if you work with me and you're just like, I hate fucking being a teacher, I just came here from Japan, you might get slapped in the face in a bar. I'm just saying, I'm a dick. If you're fucking gonna be a teacher, really be a teacher. But yeah, and if not, just come to Interact, do the best you can for about an hour. I mean, an hour. Yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. A year or 2 years, and then boom, start sending out resumes everywhere. If you hustle, you can make a lot of money. Like I hustled, and now I make minimum. I don't leave my house unless it's $100 an hour. Like if I don't get paid $100 an hour, I'm like, you know what? Not gonna happen. Teach your own fucking kids. And there's also a lot of charity in the work. It's funny because I'll turn down $100 but teach for free. Fucking hippie. But don't do that in your first year here. Make sure you save up some money. But yeah, living in Japan is awesome, but it's not as great as other YouTubers make it. And if you want, email me, kocotos@gmail.com, and I will try to hook you up. But have your 4-year degree and just come here to be a teacher. And yeah, you can make a lot of money. But that first couple years is rough. And it can be very lonely if you're out in the middle of nowhere. All right. Live comments. Sorry, Booms. Just wanted to get that over the air. All right, live comments. You ready for some live comments, Sexy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Andy Papp says, how epic would it be if Jack Swagger turned face and feuded with Rusev? The All-American American. Yeah, but I like them both heels. But yeah, I think they definitely need a face for them. And anyone but John Cena would be great. Fantasy matchup. All right, let's see where this goes. Hold on. Dave, could Triple H be secretly using NXT as a way of making his own mark in WWE outside of the wrestling ring? I hope so, because if that's his resume, I've said this a million times, we're going to do an NXT review in a couple hours, in a couple minutes. If NXT is the future, I want to fast forward. I just want to fast forward, and I hope. Fantasy matchup, Dave and Booms. What would you rather see? Cena in his prime versus The Abyss in his prime, or Undertaker in his prime versus Sting back in black and white? Wow, it's pretty fucking horrible matchups, but all right. I'm gonna go Undertaker, Sting. You know what? Fantasy matchups, I don't really care. I don't enjoy any of this. Staying maybe in his, his beach bum days. Booms, you take this one because I'm stumbling. Hot tag to you.
Okay. Really not interested in either, but if I had to pick between the two, if it was Undertaker circa 1992, slightly shortly after he debuted, versus, Stinger, the blonde-haired, kid from Venice Beach, California, hell yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yep, and I hate, and this is Jason Rex now. I hate Adam Rose. Remind me of Disco Inferno on acid. So maybe Rob's the only one that really loves Adam Rose. And he also says ultimate contract signing: Toho Godzilla versus any American-made monster. We all have to admit, Americans, we make shit monster movies. Yeah, Godzilla versus Godzilla.
Yeah, about to say the closest thing we've had to a decent, and I do stress that decent. Movie monster maybe would be the Cloverfield monster, and that's it.
Yeah, well, you can go King Kong, but that's going way old school.
Well, they already did that matchup.
Yeah, that's true.
Godzilla put King Kong over.
Damn. Sons of bitches. I want a rematch. All right, and Brandon Malt says, what a night for NXT. Yeah, NXT was amazing, and we will be doing an NXT review. All right. Crazy question of the day. You ready for the crazy question of the day?
All right.
All right, we're almost done. We got a couple more. Who is in the Illuminati here? I don't know if the Illuminati's real, but I'm going to go with they're not going to reveal themselves on YouTube comments. I could be wrong, but if the Illuminati's real, I had a crazy Japanese lady ask me if I'm wanted by the police. I'm like, how often do you catch criminals like that? Are you wanted by the police? No, I'm not. Okay, have a good day. I don't know. I'm not part of the Illuminati, but if I was, would I admit it? Booms, are you part of the Illuminati?
Only if you think I'm a serial killer.
All right, well, there you go. There you have it. My gosh. I'm sorry. That comment should have probably hit me as hard as it did, but it got me. You hit the giggle button. Mike Ashman says, if Jeff Jarrett does the right thing and allows GFW to usher in the territories of pro wrestling, what promotion would you like to see have a working relationship with GFW? I'll go first on this one, Booms. I'm going to be a little greedy. I'm going to push you out of the way. New Japan, all the Japans, NWA, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, maybe Chikara, but Chikara is so special on its own. I don't know if it plays well with others. And, yeah, that's about it. I mean, you can go everywhere. So that's what I would do. Booms, do you got any that you want to add? Oh, of course, AAA.
Yeah, no, all the above. I mean, if it's going to be Global Force Wrestling, well, boom, you better have you some, international superstars. I better be seeing guys from Canada, Japan, Mexico, Germany, England, Ireland, South Africa, just Australia, wherever there's wrestling. I mean, there needs to be somebody representing that country and, showcase the best in the world. They need to capitalize on what WWE doesn't do, which is WWE is not very good at featuring superstars who are not Caucasian.
Wow, you brought the fucking hammer home on that one, Booms. Malik Douglas says the 90s and especially ECW is my favorite era. So, bam, there we go. 5 more comments. You want these to be the last 5 questions?
Yes.
My last 5 questions right here are comments. We don't know if they're questions. WWE is. Mike Ashman answered something that I have no idea. Andy Paps. Could you guys see? Oh, we already read that. Boom. Malik Douglas. Favorite era of WWE was Attitude Era, I guess. Andy Paps. Sorry, I asked the question twice, guys. Damn you, Andy Paps. Flair Dice seems like he can be an Illuminati member. That was from Malik Douglas. All right, I think that's it. When Flair Dice gets accused of being part of the Illuminati, I officially think it is time to wrap up the show. Thank you for the live comments. Thank you for the questions. Any question after this will be on our next Stump the Idiot. Boom Boom is way past his bedtime, so I'm going to give you the stage to say something amazing. Go.
Be grateful your boss is an idiot, because otherwise you may not have a job.
Wonderful, wonderful. And also check out KokoSports.com, KOCOSports.com, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. It's where the world comes to kick ass. It's your home for combat sports, and it's also the home where you can buy an Internet Infantry shirt. Please, gentlemen, ladies, buy the shirts. I beg of you. Please just buy the shirts. We need to make some pennies. Go there now. Buy the shirts. That was a smooth pitch, Booms. Did you see that smoothness there? We will be doing an NXT review within the hour if everything goes right. Booms, thank you for being here. And Terry Funk bless you. With that, go to KokoSports.com. I am over. Ba, 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 ba.